Hey, what's up guys, Thetcglover here in a video today. Right, so I actually managed to get a Mermail versus Fire Fist duel on DevPro, and I actually got it to be a match. The guy didn't quit, which is actually a surprise. I think DevPro is it's been updating itself a lot recently, so I haven't been able to do many videos because you have to manually update DevPro. So it's been going through some weird bugs and crashes and things. But now that they've smoothed out the updates, DevPro is now a lot better. Things like doing matches and side decking is a lot easier to do, and it keeps better communication with you as you're doing it, so you don't just randomly get like the other person quits and it doesn't tell you, so you're just side decking and then you don't know if they've quit or not. But now it actually tells you when they've finished side decking, how much time you've got, stuff like that. So it means now you can actually play a duel and play it till the end. So I can actually do a match. So anyway, Mermail against Axis 3.5 Axis deck. So game one, and Mermails have been fun. I've enjoyed them a lot. They've had some ups and downs. I mean, I'm testing a new thing at the moment. I'm not using Deep Sea Diva because it keeps getting Veilered now that Veiler's now good again, and Fiendish Chains and stuff like that. So I'm testing out a different kind of variant, and at the moment I've been playing against some Firefish, especially at locals, and it's an interesting deck. It goes back and forth. It can go either way because right here, set 2 back row. I'm like, judging by the fact that I know that it's a pseudo advantage, I know what they generally play, and I know that Fiendish Chain is probably the biggest thing to worry about here. But so I do the Megalo to try and bait out back row, and so I bait out his back row with 2 things, and so I don't bother MSTing the Fiendish Chain because Megalo being at 2400 is fine enough for me. It won't get through that. So Tiger King negates stuff, Tensu Panther get Tenki, then he activates Tenki, and then I always MST the Tenki. Tenki being MST is a lot more important to do than to hit the Fiendish Chain because I don't need to resolve the Megalo too much. It doesn't fuss me that much. So anyway, he takes over that, and I Abyss Sphere and he MSTs. So now we're back down to about equal cards roughly. I draw it into an MST, I set it. And by this point I'm like, oh, Abyss Kunde in my hand, not too handy, but it allows you to do a lot of plays. So he gets Tenki again, Tenki, MST, always MST the Tenki. It will always pay off in the long run. 1 for 1 instead of going like 3 for 1 or something. So I draw into Abyssdine, and Abyssdine is cool because when it's special summoned, you can special summon it a level 3 or lower Mermail from your graveyard. So if Abysslind gets destroyed, you can special summon this card, and then it special summons the Abysslind back. So you can start your turn off with 2 monsters on your field, which allows you to do a lot of cool plays. Especially if you've got Abyssmander in your graveyard, because you can instantly go into Volcasaurus right there. So he attacks me for 2/5 and sets a Tenkin, which I know is pseudo advantage. So one thing I have to remember here is that he has 3 face-up fire formations, and when this gets destroyed, he will send these to the graveyard and special summon 2 Brotherhood of the Fire Fists from his deck in defense mode, which means that if I need to push through the Tiger King as well as kill one of the, or at least both of the monsters that he summons with it, so that I can clear his field completely. So Laval Chain comes down, and Tidal. So he does Tenkin, so I can't get through it because it's 2/8. Tenkin's effect gives it 500 attack. So he summons Wolfbark and gets himself another one, and he attacks and attacks. So at this point I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. So he Abyss Dwellers, so I can't use Tidal. So I'm a bit in a bit of a problem here. However, I do have Abysslind, so that's always nice. So I set that, and he draws main phase, activates Dweller, and attacks, and attacks. I'm like, oh, okay. By this point, I draw into Abyss Teus, which is always fun. So I Abyss Teus, search into Lind, Torrential Tribute, Forbidden Lance. He saves his Tiger King. I Abyss Lind into Abyss Lead, summon Tidal, and I end up attacking over that. And the recursion effect of Tidal was really what wins me the game here. Attack and Jackasack brings 2 tokens. So by this point I've realised that the Firefist player is doing its ultimate best to stop me from doing as much as I can. So it's a very good Firefist player. He draws into Chicken, can't do much with that. And I attack with both for 5/2, which is a very nice amount of damage to take off. Yeah, so I summon 2 extra tokens, so I know that he can't push through. and he draws into Yoku, which is rubbish. So we go into the side deck, and I think I side into Maxi's Vela. I can't remember what else. I think I signed to Overworked. That was something that really put in some work. So game 2, and I drew into 2 of my sides, my Maxi and Overworked. Maxi's going to go into the main now because I feel like every deck gets hit by it at some point. So I set free and he MSTs the Abyssal. I've been judging by his tendencies of MST blinding because other players would not blind MST free back row. It's just stupid. But I knew that he always seems to MST the first card you set because psychologically you would always set the card that you want to use, like the most optimal card first, because it's the first card that you see. It's like, I want to set this card, it's really powerful, it's going to get me out of situations. So you unconsciously set it first, and you can set your other support cards in the back row. However, I went against that and I set Abyssal, which is obviously crap first turn. Set that first, and I set my actual 2 good cards behind it, so that when they MST the wrong card, because if he MST Bottomless or Overworked, the game would have played a lot differently. So he'd have been lanced, and he couldn't do anything there, but I couldn't do anything either. I didn't want to attack into Bear, so he goes Gyoku and kills Overworked, and I Abyss into Pike. Obviously I could hit Brotherhood of the Fire-Fist Bear and clear the path, but I had no follow-up, so it was more likely that I would prefer to just Overwork his monster anyway. So infantry, and he Tensus, ends his turn. Very nice. So I Overworked here, and I Marksman, and he Velas it, and I was like, damn, I was going to go into Dragoons, then do Bahamut Shark play. That would have put me in a really good spot, because he would be forced into using Spirit. So he draws into Leopard. Panther, I mean, or is it Leopard? Yeah. So he gets himself tanky, and I can't stop it. Obviously, I've got no outs for it. Dragon comes down, and he special summons Bear, and he attacks through all of my stuff, which is not very nice. But what can you do? Anyway, he activates Tensu, which gets Dragon's effect, allows him to get Tenkin. I don't really like Tenkin that much. I don't think it does enough to be worth playing. So I Abyss Teus into defense mode, get myself Lind. He Tenkins, gets Dragon, gets another 5 formation. And I attack, get my effect off, summon Abyss Lead. Abyss Lead attacks Bear, because I know Bear's a problem. Jackasack, get 2 tokens, and I attack and kill it. So I'm feeling quite good at this point. He Tensus into Spirits, I get a Maxi drop. Yay! Gets Panther, makes Horse Prince gets Chicken. I draw into 2 Guns, and I'm like, god damn it. So he does Tenki, I MST it because I know it's the problem card. He Brotherhood of the Fire-Fist Bears and Horse Prince, Tensen, and attacks with Bear. So Bear gets himself another formation, which is a Tenki, and ends his turn. Obviously I draw into my 3rd Gund, which is like, oh come on. I draw 3 off Maxi and then Gund, 3 Gund. It's like, come on. Right, so I activate Overwork to kind of keep myself in the game. So he battle phases and I Overworked. So at least I have some kind of out, buys me a turn. You know, Overwork seems to put in a lot of work in that situation. So I Abyss Megalo, and this is where everything goes horribly wrong. So he Maxis, I drop it, he draws Gund, target, DD Crow, and Fiendish Chain. So he literally has an out to the effects of Megalo, he banishes the target for Gund, and I can't do anything, because he's going to go into a card next turn, and he draws into MST. Wolfbark gets himself a dragon, summons Kazakh Sushi, which is such a good end game card. You know, late game is fantastic because I just can't get over a card that can't be destroyed. So I draw into Fiendish Chain and I end. So I lost game 2, but let's go into game 3 and see what happens. Right, so I didn't open up too bad. I opened up some stuff. So Overworked an Abyss Sphere come down because I knew that I'd rather save Abyss Score if it's gonna win me the game than So he blind the MST. He's trying to clear the back row for Bear, and he ultimately gets himself in a bit of a pickle there. So Abysslin gets myself a Biff Pike. So I ditch Megalo because I knew that I have Gunday in my hand. I didn't really realize he'd have DD Crow. He summons Bear and attacks. Gets himself a Tenki. So at this point he's set up the field quite well. He knows he's got DD Crow in hand, so he can make different plays, and obviously it makes me question the plays. So I make unoptimal plays so that I get myself in a bit of a trouble. He DD Crows the target, and I set a Bisqual. He Tensu's into Gorilla. Gorilla's effect targets this. I chain a Bisqual and get myself a Lind, Gund, and Megalo. So it doesn't put in a lot of work. So it allows me to actually protect myself while he gets himself a lot of cards, but there's nothing I can do about that, unfortunately. So he gets himself 2 Tenkies, so he can just keep setting up. He does Cardinal, and I haven't got a chance to max C because there's no card that activates that special summons in this case. So I draw Oshi Abyss and get myself Lind. There's nothing else I could really do. I was in a bit of a problem at this point, but I believe he makes a mistake and goes Wolfbark, activates the Fets. I max C, so it gives me some outs. Then he makes Dweller's effect. He kills it, attacks, and attacks. So at this point I'm like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? So he standby phase goes Abyss Dweller. I Abyss Teus, search, Tidal, search. I knew that his face down was Tenki, so I knew that I had nothing to worry about. I make Drakasak and I pop his Tenki because I was going to pop Wolfbark because obviously Cardinal was useless on its own. But then I realised that, you know, just pop the Tenki, then he activates Wolfbark, I special summon, because I put him in a very compromising situation here where he's thinking, yeah, I've got Wolfbark, I'm fine, I've got no worries about it, I'm cool. And then he realises when he activates he's actually got to push through the Drakasak, and I've got Overworked as well face down, so he's in a really big bad problem here. I'm going to draw like 2 or 3 cards, I can't remember. But I Overworked first, I don't remember why that. I didn't want him to, you know. So I max C and he gets Bear, makes Tiger King. Tiger King gets himself another Tenki. Tenki goes off, gets himself Dragon. Negates Dragon's effect, summons Bear, Bear's effect, pops that. So I attack into Lind, get myself a Pike, Pike's effect, pitch, Dragon's effect, search for a Megalo. Some people would use ditch infantry, but I realised that you've got Megalo in your hand, and I knew that he'd already used DD Crows, so I was sure that he didn't have another one in his hand, although he could have had another one. So he goes into Tiger King, gets himself Tensu, and it puts his monsters up. I don't know why the hell he did that, because Megalo's 2-4, it seems pointless, so we just want to get Tensin instead. So I go Tidal, and I go Megalo, pitch a Gund, and an infantry. So I get to do some shenanigans. So I special summon Lind, and I battle phase attack, so I get myself a lead. So I go Pow, Pow, Pow. And then I thought there's a chance that he might have like a Tenki or something, kind of a follow-up play in his hand. So I lead to take 1 card out of his hand, and it ends up being a chicken, which is obviously not the card you want to take out unless he's already used his... did he already use his... He hasn't used his Spirit, so he could have topped into Spirit here, and that would have put me in a bad situation. So I made Gaios because I know that Gaios really does put in work against Fire Fist when they're low on cards. So he draws into Tensin, and he scoops. So I win. And I think it was due to the fact that I made a couple of really good plays, and I don't know, the fact that he played into Max C when he didn't have a way to beat me, he didn't have a way to OTK, he should have stopped at certain points. He gave me so many cards. He made Abyss Dweller, which ultimately will give me 2 or 3 cards from Max C, but you know, it can be pseudo advantage where I might have 6 cards in my hand, and Abyss Dweller just completely shuts me down, so I draw into 6 cards which I need to go off in the grave. But in this case, I drew into Tidal, and it went completely ham. I think Mermail's now has become a game of basically the whole deck revolves around Lavalval Chain, sending Tidal to the grave, then you banish, and then you can make Levier with other cards, get back stuff, and you do it that way. You basically use Tidal as the main focus of the deck. You know, it makes Gaio Abyss. Abyss Gaios in a slower format is absolutely devastating, just like Drakasak. You know, just using Tidal to spam the field rather than keeping your focus on something like Megalo, which is great, but it can be a little bit fragile. But Tidal really does come into its own. 2600 smacking over and over again. Really, really good. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Comment down below how you feel. If you find this matchup easy, if you like Fire Fist, if you play a Fire Fist, do you find Mermails easy to play? Because I think that game was very, very back and forth. The whole match was very back and forth. There were multiple points where the Fire Fist player would have won. I'm not going to say that I made the most optimal play in every situation, but I feel like that win that I had was rightfully deserved, because at the right times, at crucial moments, I topped into the good cards, of course, but I also made sure I kept the mindset of get that Tidal out You know, Maxi into Tidal, sword Tidal out first, get Tidal on the field, and then bait out anything, bait out Torrential, bait out Bottomless first, get that Tidal on the field, you know, cause them to make plays that are not optimal, and then you can spam with your hand after that. You know, get Abyss Teus on the field, and then you can make so many different plays. Drakasag against Fire Fist is very, very powerful, and that's all I can say. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I hope to see you guys in a couple of days. So until next time, guys, the Thetcglover is out.